Prime Minister and the Lord Chancellor have both made clear that the promotion and the protection of the rule of law will underpin our approach to legislation and policy. As we face the profoundly difficult choices and decisions that every government must make, it is the rule of law that will serve as our lodestar.
Lord Hermer's judicial defence sparks political fury. Good evening, UK Connors family. Before we dive into today's absolutely explosive political drama, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, what exactly are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button now, because British politics is serving up scandal after scandal, and you simply cannot afford to miss a single moment of this constitutional carnage. Right, let's get straight to the heart of today's political earthquake that's got Westminster absolutely seething. Lord Hermer, one of Sir Keir Starmer's most trusted lieutenants, has just lobbed a constitutional grenade into the heart of British politics, and the fallout is nothing short of spectacular. The Attorney General has gone nuclear on Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick, and frankly, the gloves are well and truly off. Picture this scene, if you will. Lord Hermer, standing at the Labour Party conference, looking absolutely incandescent as he launches into what can only be described as a blistering attack on Jenrick's recent criticism of judicial decisions. But here's where it gets absolutely delicious. Whilst defending our judges with the fury of 1,000 suns, he simultaneously throws the Home Office under the proverbial bus with such spectacular force that you can practically hear the tyres screeching from here. Now, what's got Lord Hermer's knickers in such a monumental twist? Well, our Robert Jenrick has been doing what politicians do best, pointing fingers and naming names. Specifically, he's been calling out individual judges by name, suggesting they are not delivering what he rather diplomatically calls honest judgments. And Lord Hermer? Well, he's having absolutely none of it. Listen to this absolute corker from the Attorney General. It is utterly extraordinary that you can now have a shadow justice minister who is openly calling out named judges, suggesting that they are not doing their best and that they are not delivering honest judgments. The man was practically vibrating with righteous indignation. He went on to warn about the threat such language poses to our entire rule of law fabric. And honestly, you could cut the tension in that conference room with a butter knife. But here's where this story takes a rather delicious twist that would make even the most seasoned political observers raise an eyebrow. Whilst Lord Hermer is busy playing the noble defender of judicial independence, he's simultaneously launching his own scathing assault on the very government department that's supposed to be handling these cases. The irony is so thick you could practically serve it with afternoon tea. Our Attorney General revealed, and brace yourself for this absolute gem, that he was shocked to discover the Home Office often doesn't even bother sending representatives to tribunal hearings. Can you imagine? The department responsible for immigration and asylum cases can't be asked to actually show up when these cases are being heard. It's rather like a football team not turning up to their own match and then complaining about the referee's decisions. And if that wasn't jaw-dropping enough, Lord Hermer also dropped this bombshell. There are cases where the Home Office doesn't even present its own medical evidence to challenge claims made by migrants. They're essentially turning up to a gunfight with a water pistol and then wondering why they're getting absolutely annihilated in court. Now, the Conservative response to all this has been, shall we say, rather spirited. Shadow National Security Minister Alicia Kearns fired back with the precision of a seasoned parliamentary warrior, declaring, "We should know the names of those who sit in judgment over others, and there should be public accountability for their decisions." She reminded everyone that we live in a democracy where disagreeing with judicial decisions isn't just acceptable, it's practically a national pastime, and there's literally an appeals process unduly lenient sentences. But the real knockout punch came from an unnamed Tory source who delivered what might be the most devastating political put-down of the week. The Attorney General is deluded if he believes that. Ouch! That's the kind of parliamentary savagery that would make even the most battle-hardened politicians wince. This entire debacle perfectly encapsulates the constitutional minefield that modern British politics has become. On one hand, we have Lord Hermer waving the flag for judicial independence, warning about the dangers of politicians publicly criticising individual judges. It's a perfectly valid constitutional principle. The separation of powers is rather fundamental to our democratic system, after all. But on the other hand, we have the Conservatives arguing for transparency and accountability, pointing out that in a democracy, public officials, including judges, should be subject to scrutiny and criticism. They are not entirely wrong either. Judicial accountability has been a cornerstone of democratic governance for centuries. What makes this particularly fascinating is the timing. This row has erupted just as Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is preparing to announce plans to overhaul human rights laws before Christmas. These changes are specifically designed to curb migrant ability to block their deportation by claiming it would breach their European Convention on Human Rights to Family Life or put them at risk of persecution. The political chess game being played here is absolutely masterful. Lord Hermer's defense of judicial independence isn't happening in a vacuum. It's occurring against the backdrop of the Labour government preparing to potentially clash with the very judges it's defending over upcoming human rights reforms. The irony is so delicious it practically serves itself. What's particularly striking about Lord Hermer's position is his insistence that he's not a blocker but an enabler. This is clearly aimed at countering conservative accusations that the Attorney General's office has been obstructing efforts to tackle illegal immigration. But given his simultaneous criticism of the Home Office's woeful preparation for tribunal cases, one has to wonder exactly what is enabling. The broader implications of this role extend far beyond the immediate political theater. We're witnessing a fundamental debate about the relationship between the executive, the judiciary, and parliamentary accountability. When politicians criticize judicial decisions, are they undermining the rule of law, or are they exercising legitimate democratic oversight? It's a question that goes to the very heart of our constitutional arrangements. Lord Hermer's revelation about the Home Office's shocking incompetence in handling these cases raises serious questions about governmental competence. If the department can't even be bothered to show up to hearings or present proper evidence, how can they credibly complain about adverse judicial decisions? It's rather like a student not doing their homework and then blaming the teacher for the failing grade. The Conservative response reveals their own strategic positioning. By defending the right to criticize judges publicly, they're not just responding to Lord Hermer's attack. They're laying the groundwork for future battles over judicial decisions, particularly as the government prepares to introduce controversial human rights reforms. This entire episode also highlights the increasingly toxic nature of British political discourse. The language being used, deluded, utterly extraordinary, shocking, suggests a level of political animosity that extends far beyond normal parliamentary disagreement. We're not just witnessing policy differences, we're seeing fundamental disagreements about the nature of democratic governance itself. The timing of this row, coming during Labour Party conference season, is particularly telling. It allows Labour to position themselves as a party of institutional respect and constitutional propriety, whilst painting Conservatives as dangerous populists willing to undermine judicial independence for political gain. It's political positioning of the highest order. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this entire affair is how it exposes a complex web of relationships and contradictions within the British political system. Here we have the Attorney General defending judges while simultaneously criticizing the Home Office, creating a narrative where the problem isn't judicial bias but governmental incompetence. The Conservative counterattack, focusing on transparency and accountability, taps into genuine public concerns about judicial decision-making, particularly in immigration cases. Their argument that we should know the names of judges and be able to criticize their decisions resonates with voters who feel disconnected from legal processes that directly affect immigration policy. As we watch this constitutional drama unfold, it's worth remembering that these aren't just abstract legal principles being debated. They are fundamental questions about how our democracy functions. The relationship between politicians and judges, the role of public criticism in ensuring accountability, and the balance between institutional respect and democratic oversight are all being tested in real time. The resolution of this dispute, or lack thereof, will set important precedents for how future governments handle judicial criticism and institutional accountability. Lord Hermer's robust defense of judicial independence may well become the defining moment of his tenure as Attorney General, whilst a Conservative response could shape their approach to constitutional issues for years to come. This role perfectly captures the current state of British politics, institutionally complex, personally vicious, and constitutionally significant. It's a reminder that beneath the surface of daily political theatre lie fundamental questions about power, accountability, and democratic governance that have no easy answers. There you have it, UK Connors. Another day, another constitutional crisis in the never-ending soap opera that is British politics. Lord Hermer has drawn his line in the sand. The Conservatives have responded with characteristic force, and we're all left wondering what comes next in this fascinating game of political chess. Make sure you're subscribed, because something tells me this is just the beginning of what promises to be an absolutely explosive few months in Westminster. Until next time, this has been your guide through the beautiful chaos of British politics.